Unless you were born yesterday, in which case, welcome to the world, little baby. You'd have observed that social movements have been a thing since the beginning of civilization. Many people have stood up against their oppressors to fight for what is good. And now, I'll show you the story of the civil rights movement and the Boston Tea Party. February 22nd, Boston, Massachusetts. The American patriots, fed up with the absurd taxes and the lack of representation within the British government, had many riled up. This group of Americans decided to rough off a British law store, bringing along with them an 11-year-old child named Christopher.
What's going on?
Christopher, no!
Sadly, however, Christopher was killed, and in that sparked the movement that leads towards the dreadful moment for the Americans. In spite of the death of Christopher, some colonists started brawls with the British. March 5th, a terrible thing was soon to happen to the colonists. Chris's father was enraged and ready to hit more soldiers.
Hey, you stinking pig filth! I'm gonna kill you. Go back to your king.
You're gonna be okay! You're gonna be okay!
The families and friends of the murdered men grieved within the days after. It was a sad time for the colonists, and they wouldn't put up with it for much longer. This is Rosa Parks. She's an African-American woman who just wanted to ride the bus. But little did she know, her sitting in the front seat wasn't a good idea. The racist men on the bus were very mad that she had decided to sit there, and they did their best to try and make her obey the society's rule.
Oh, hello. What are you doing here? This is for whites only. Get in the back. No! No! Get in the back.
Go to the back. It's reserved for whites only.
To the back of the bus. What do you think you're doing at the front? No, I'm getting you a good. I'll get us I'm going to jail.
I'm in jail just cause I'm black.
What's going on here, prisoner?
You gonna be in jail cause I'm black?
No, that is not the reason why. You are insuperior. You sit in the back.
The simplest things people of color could not do in the 1960s was unacceptable. Not being allowed to sit in the front of a bus, not being allowed to drink from certain water fountains, and not being allowed to use some public restrooms unless they are labeled colored. Both the American colonists and people of color were oppressed, but in very different ways. One of them not being allowed simple rights and privileges, and others being forced to pay their oppressors with no say.
Okay, man, you got that list of position the British have put upon us. May I mark my words, we will fight back. They have killed our friends and family. They will let them stomp all over us no more. Here's the plan. We will just help out the Americans to revert the blame towards them so that they don't come at us with all the power. The tax they have put on us is unacceptable. And we will pay that tax, throwing it overboard. There is a ship filled with tons of tea. Let's get them.
The disguise is used by the American colonists to make the British believe that the natives were raiding was one of the many tactics that the undermanned and undergunned American colonists used. The violent and destructive tactics of the Americans were to ensure fear in Britain. This here is Martin Luther King Jr. He was a great man and one of the voices of the civil rights movement. He brought his oppressed people together to non-violently protest against unfair and racist laws. His ways brought many black and white supporters of all kinds to his side. If he were to do any violent acts as the Americans did against the British, history as we know it may have gone a different route.
But by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day, right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today.
And it is the aftermath of the Martin Luther King Jr. civil rights movement. He was a good man that brought equality regardless of race. His non-violent ways brought peace upon both the white people and the black people. His continued support internationally from everyone convinced lawmakers in the US to finally abolish the Jim Crow laws. To this day, MLK Jr.'s efforts are still prominent and important, but there are still many improvements that could be done. The events of the Boston Massacre led to a terrible war with hundreds killed between the Americans and British combined. This war for independence from the oppression of the British, with taxation and killing citizens being the last straw. In the end, the Revolutionary War brought victory to the Americans, and here are the Founding Fathers signing the Declaration of Independence. This marks a time in history where this move for independence led to one of the greatest nations in the world to be created.
Their country loved and mercy more than life. America, America. May God thy gold refine. For success, be nobleness, and every gain divine. When I was in school, you know, we used to sing something like this. Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties. Above the fruited plain. Look here, I'm talking about America, sweet America. You know, God done.
White supremacy. I am your equal.